Everybody. So happy to see you today. I'm excited that Joe Cody is going to be joining us today and Dr. Serena Chin. And we're going to be giving you an update on what's been going on with our initiative to add third-party reproduction, specifically donor conception, and all different types of third-party production actually, to the electronic medical record and also the medical intake process. So we have been talking about it for so long now, and I am just, the three of us will be able to give you an update. So I think Dr. Chin is just getting on now, and then we're just going to wait for Joe to get on. I think, there's Dr. Chin. Hey, Dr. Chin, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing? And here's Joe Cody. Oh my goodness,
Hi,
my dream
Joe.
team is here.
Hi, Dr. Shan. How are you?
Good, good.
So I was just saying that I'm really so thrilled to be able to give an update today on what's been going on with adding third-party reproduction, specifically donor conception, and actually lots of different types of third-party production to the not just the electronic medical record intake, but our next phase will be to the medical intake process with the doctors.
Yeah.
So just to jump right in, if we can do that, just for time's sake today, I wanted to let everybody just a little bit of background. I think over a year ago, well over a year ago, actually, this initiative started. And it started, actually, it just grew out of conversations I was having with patients where there was some confusion about whether or not to share information with the medical community when they brought their child to the doctor who was donor conceived. They didn't know when they should share, how they should share, if they should share. And my alarms went off because having worked in healthcare for so many years and actually electronic medical records as well, I thought, oh my goodness, this is such important information for the medical community to know about.
Yep.
And also so important for somebody who is donor conceived to be able to share and not feel uncomfortable about. So I did some research and some talking and some lots of Instagram lives, which all of you may have seen, or some of you, and both of you have been on, which I am very grateful for, and was able to connect with Dr. Chen very early on, and Joe. And Joe has just been so instrumental in helping us move this forward into the realm of electronic medical records. So let me just turn this over to Joe for a few minutes and let him give you this fabulous update about what's been going on with the global initiative.
Yeah, thanks, Lori. So after Lori contacted me, I was able to reach out to contacts, and we were able to have a meeting with the Electronic Health Record Association, which is an organization with about 40 of the largest EHR vendors in the country. And as we had a conversation with them, we were connected to an organization called the Global Alliance for Genomics and Health, the GA4, and they're an international nonprofit alliance that was formed to create frameworks and standards to responsible and voluntary secure sharing of genomic and health-related data, such as family history for individuals who are conceived using third-party reproductive technology or other individuals. So one of the things that they're working on doing is to standardize methods of family history health data collection, and they're working to align standards that are currently used by electronic health records for use in both genetic medicine and also research, working to capture and exchange between clinical research and patient-centered systems, which is really important to ensure that the information is available not only at the point of care for when a patient's working, but also for physicians and researchers. Information. So
this
what
is,
we're really trying to look at is, why is this important? Sorry, go ahead. Did you say something, Lori?
No, I was going to say this is so exciting just to summarize it in more lay people's terms for everybody. And I hope you're okay, Dr. Chen.
Yeah, I'm getting over a cold, actually,
Here,
COVID.
So lay people's terms, so to speak, we really, Joe was able to have us introduced to the alliance where all the medical record companies come together, the top 30, and we were able to present this, and there was such great
It's
interest.
fascinating because I didn't even know that this organization existed. So I am so grateful to you, Joe, and I, like this this is amazing because it's true. We all use so many different records, and to think they're actually talking to each other is really wonderful.
Yes, it is. It's thank goodness for Joe, right? So we were able to do this, right? So that was a while ago that we presented this meeting. It was quite a while.
Yeah, probably 6 months ago.
Yeah, I think it was at least 6 months ago. It was a while ago. And it was really well received, which was fabulous because, you don't really know how this is going to be received. And then they wanted us to meet not just with the United States, but now they said the Global Alliance is working on this. So that means that this is now a global initiative. And what they're doing is they have a pedigree. That's what they call the family history. And within that, they have broken it out into all different sections and areas. So
that's really amazing, but it's in some ways it's kind of a no-brainer that it should be global, right? Because it is really basic. Family history informs how you look at the patient, how you look at her risk factors, and how we often approach our treatment plans and therapeutics, everything that we do in medicine. And to be in the dark about that is definitely something that could potentially have a negative impact upon a patient's care.
oh my goodness, especially if the person knows. You see, if the person doesn't know, it's one thing. But if the person knows and we're working so hard towards disclosure, well, then this is imperative that people feel comfortable in having the conversation.
Yes. And the fact that patients were asking you, should I tell and when should I tell, is a little bit, that has to change. It has to be everybody knows that everybody should know from the very beginning, including all your healthcare providers, so that you can, everybody's speaking from knowledge and information.
Yeah, it's so true. So what happened was Joe and I met with them. And Joe, do you want to, I'm sorry I interrupted, but do you want to continue with what you're saying?
Yeah, I was going to kind of touch on the point that Serena mentioned. It's important for the patients to be able to feel comfortable. It's incredibly important, but it's also important for the clinicians to be able to have access to this information, to know that. And one of the advantages of going through these type of organizations like GA4GH is working on the development of standardized terminology, so that way everyone is on the same page. When you
speaking the same language.
Yeah, exactly. You go into a medical record, you need to know what the doctor meant or what the family history actually is. And so these organizations work with groups like ours. They work with patients. They work with clinicians from around the world to develop this type of standard and this standardized terminology, which is really important from a medical standpoint, but also from a technological standpoint, because we need to be able to have that information interoperable between different systems. So if a patient is seen at a different doctor's office, or they switch clinics, or they do something, we need to be able to have these standards in place to be able to have that information accessible throughout the entire ecosystem. And that's the really great part about working with GA4GH is we won't even be able to do it just nationally or in the United States. If we succeed with this, we'll be able to have it internationally, so that way history is truly accessible wherever a person goes. And as we increasingly become a globalized society, it's really important for patients to be able to have access to that information. So it's been really great to work with such a good organization.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm amazed.
One of the things that they've asked us, and just I don't know that I formally said this, but Dr. Chin is our medical lead here, so we keep going to her with any medical information, medical questions that we have, and so we're so grateful to have her also in this team. And so one of the things that they have asked us, and we've surveyed quite a few people, is just in terms of definitions and languages, because there seems to be clarification that's needed on quite a few things, and they are in this what they're calling pedigree, but family history, including quite a bit. They're including adoption, they're including step parents, they're including the biological links, and the list goes on and on. So what's the most exciting part of this is that once that this is adopted, and I'm going to be very positive in saying once it's adopted, what we're
Absolutely
strive for and what our next phase is to go to all the medical societies and get the medical societies to say to their doctors, listen, guys, you got to start asking these questions. You got to get comfortable with it.
It has to become standard of medical care. And I think that brings up a very important point, Lori, is that until now, until, we had this kind of the genetic revolution where that just kind of mandates disclosure. The standard was like, honestly, like a lot of secrecy around donor conception and shame, which is like an unfortunate part of the whole infertility journey, is that there used to be a lot of opacity around this, and people and the medical community being complicit in kind of creating that opacity and now it's definitely something that we do not support, and we really feel like disclosure is the healthiest thing for the parents and the children and the whole community. And it's also kind of mandatory because of genetic technology today, but it is changing a whole culture, a way of being. And we will have to go to the medical societies to change current physicians' routines and their ways of thinking, because most physicians that are not doing IVF, are not doing assisted reproduction, really don't think about donor conception very much at all. And very little. They barely even, think about adoption. And this really ultimately has to be integrated into medical schools, medical training, nursing schools, nursing training, and ultimately really all of society, including, every single man and woman on the street, because it really should be routine that this figuring out, where the gametes came from, how your family was formed, where your origins are, impact so many things about your health.
I could have used my support group that just ended at 6 o'clock, Dr. Chin, because we were talking about all these issues, right? We were talking about shame. We were talking about societal impact. We were talking about being comfortable, being able to share. And we were talking about boundaries. We were talking about all of these things that really are coming up in this conversation. And so the other thing that I really love about the fact that this will go on, I'm very positive, it will go on a standardized form, and doctors will be able to start to ask about it, is that people who have no relationship with donor conception or third-party reproduction will begin to become familiar with it.
More aware, exactly.
Yes, and
exactly.
There's this awareness because the societal impact is still very prevalent.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we're successful with this also, and Serena mentioned this, if we can get doctors asking the questions, it helps to erase that stigma, especially if
absolutely.
If someone is comfortable having an open conversation in public with other people, people do feel a lot of trust in that office with their...
Yeah, we normalize the whole conversation. I mean, now we've gotten used to asking all our patients their pronouns. That certainly, we can definitely, I'm very optimistic that we can drive change and that we can remove all that secrecy and shame, and it will become completely and totally normalized, like it is for the people that, deal with donor conception all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and we changed pronouns very quickly, really.
We really did.
So there's no reason for us not to be able to do this as well.
I agree.
Speed. So as we're moving forward with this, what really helps us to be empowered and will help us to be empowered with our next phase of going to the medical societies would be if people could please take a look at a survey that I put out. I put it out a while ago. At this point, it's over a year ago, and it's only.
But you're going to send it out again, right, Lori? And then we can also post it on our sites as well.
It's on my bio. It's in the link of my bios, but
okay.
And I'll be glad to reshare it with the notes.
Yeah, we might as well reshare it now. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's there. It's only 10 questions, and so you can either just answer the 10 questions, or if possible, if you can write in a little summary or a little story, that's powerful. Because I hear stories from people that have not filled out the survey about going to the hospital, saying that they're donor conceived, and then the doctors maybe not recognizing the significance of that, or not.
So this survey is directed only to people who are donor conceived, or to everybody?
It's directed towards donor conceived people. It's directed towards recipient parents and adoptees.
Okay.
Could actually for anybody who is not genetically tied to the parent that is raising them. So some
Okay.
now coin this the social parent. However you choose to call the parent who's raising you.
Right.
Many times that is the person that the healthcare provider will assume is the person whose history that you have. Understand,
Right.
not told otherwise. And so anybody who is in that situation where third-party reproduction is impacted, if they could please take a minute, it wouldn't take more than 5 minutes to fill out the survey. What we're going to do with that is we're correlating that data. We're going to bring that to the medical societies with us. And let them know that nobody's ever been asked if they were conceived through third-party reproduction, because so far I haven't gotten one yes in any of the answers.
Wow.
And
Lori, I wonder if it would be helpful to like get the donor egg banks and the sperm donor banks involved in like collecting some of this data with you as well.
that would be fabulous. I'm actually going to be,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be fabulous.
Yeah.
If
Because
they,
I I think they are getting more involved in like trying to respond to the demands of their patients who want more information and more connection and openness. And of course, like now we have some legislation like in Colorado, so some of this will be mandated as well. So I would think that the donor egg banks and the donor sperm banks would might be really interested in participating or in helping you get more responses to the survey.
yeah, I think they would be great to do that if they have people who are reaching back out to them after the child was born.
Yeah.
Because this is an experience that you have had with the medical community. So, it would be great. I'm going to be speaking to some of them, so I will mention it. I've tried to mention it in the past, but what's happening, I think, is that things are changing so quickly. And the
So quickly.
out. And so what they may have said they're not interested in doing a few months ago, they may very well be interested in doing today.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
will also help as well to be able to show the traction that we're making with standards organizations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know that EHR vendors, app developers, and other types of technologies that are collecting this family history, and patients are going to have access to this in comprehensive, standardized ways. These type of other organizations are going to want to provide that type of information because it's going to be available elsewhere in the health ecosystem. And as we become more intertwined and interoperability improves and patients have more control of their health information, the entire health ecosystem is going to start to respond to those type of consumer demands.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree.
That's really,
So the plug to anyone else who's watching on Instagram Live, if you have any connections to those organizations, please feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah,
really want to
call
talk.
us up.
Yeah.
please don't hesitate. We're all willing and able. So that's a really quick update to what's going on, but a really exciting one. The other thing that we have that people could fill out is just a petition. The petition is fine to fill out, but really the survey is the information that we need. So I will reshare that. If anybody has any questions or any comments or any thoughts or any suggestions, please just reach out because, we're happy to listen and hear from everybody on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you two both going to be at ASRM this year?
Yes, I will be there.
I will not be able to, unfortunately.
Oh, Joe, we're going to miss you.
I know. Maybe next year I'll be able to fly to wherever it is.
Okay. Okay.
It'll
Yeah.
be a little easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm hoping, there's a couple of things where they're talking about this, and there's a few meetings going on about this in Los Angeles.
At ASRM?
Yeah, a couple conversations, maybe not. And so I think that that's really exciting because at least it's something that people are talking about now.
Absolutely.
And it's important. We need to not have people, first of all, we need to optimize healthcare, right? We need to make sure that people are being treated medically in the safest way and the most efficient way possible. Efficient meaning really in an expeditious manner so that they're not going down roads they don't need to go down,
Right, exactly.
And if you don't have the information, that's okay too. You could say, I'm donor conceived, but I don't have the history. But let's not go down the history of somebody where we know it's not right, because there's been medical situations that have come up where that has
And
created
the
problems.
crazy thing is that's the routine today, is
Mhm.
because it's never, no, it's just not something that is ever really asked, which if you think about it is a little nutty, but it does reflect this pivot in you know, how we think about donor conception, because it definitely used to be something that was purposely kind of hidden.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the velocity has changed drastically over the last 11 years, 12 years, right? It went from there's no reason to tell to you have to. You
Yes.
have People want to know their history. They want to know their genetic history.
So how is that going, Lori? Like, are you feeling like with your patients that's like a tough thing for them to wrap their heads around, or do you feel like a lot of people are now saying, "Oh yeah, of course I'm going to tell"?
There's so much tied in that, right? I think in the perfect ideal situation, yes, they would want to. But what happens is you start to think about what people are going to think of you. The shame comes, the guilt comes in, the grief comes in, the
Yeah,
sadness, and feeling less than comes in, and it comes up all of the time. So it's a matter of really recognizing that this is a medical condition. It's not a choice, that it touches 1 in 6. That means of women of childbearing age have access to reproductive assistance. That's huge. It comes in that almost 3% of the population is adopted, 2.5, I believe. It comes in that millions of people are conceived through donor conception. When we look at the facts and we look at the statistics, it's one thing, but then when we look at society is still telling us something differently.
yeah,
We have
yeah.
all of these, families made up in all different ways, shapes, and forms today. So once we're able to catch up with it, I am hoping that the emotional journey is able to change just a little bit, primarily for the heterosexual couple. Now, for the single parent, if they're straight, whether it's a man or a woman, there's still grief involved with maybe they had a dream of having a child a different way. For
But the disclosure is kind of already done. It's already a done deal in a lot of ways.
established, like with a
Yeah,
gay and couple, it's established. But
yeah,
there's different journeys for gay couples versus lesbian couples. So each has their own unique, um, you know, path they have to go down.
that's true. Yeah,
So I would say that it's still a struggle. I think at the end, some people still don't want to tell no matter what, um, and others feel pressure to tell. So
mm,
I always go back to everybody to write a little story to the child when the child's in the belly or when they're starting to think about it. And it's a very hard exercise for people to do, but
yeah,
really to help the mom or the dad, the intended parent, go through the journey, and then it's so that the child has their own story when they're here.
yeah. So that's where
Long-winded
it's
answer.
well,
Sorry.
it definitely helps to think about it because obviously, you know, the standard of care is to recommend age appropriate disclosure, but I do have patients that you know, you can tell feel anxious about that, and you know, I do try to say that that's that's you know, your feeling, you know, about yourself, your own fear of not being enough of a parent in a lot of ways. Like, am I going to, you know, that I think you said that perfectly. Am I enough? When and for the child, it's not. It doesn't seem like it's really a parent-child relationship type thing primarily. I mean, you're the parent. You're the only parent they know. It seems that it's much more about their own journey to understand themselves. And I think parents have to step back from their, you know, their white knuckle grip on the child and realize this is not about that relationship necessarily. A lot of it is a lot more about just this is normal development for all human beings, that they need to know, about themselves.
Yeah. No, it really, I mean, everything shows that, your parent is your parent. The person who raises you is your parent. Your biological connection is your biological connection. And that helps. It complements. It helps to create you. That's not your parent. And I think that for the parent who's raising the child, that's sometimes a very hard concept. But what we want to be very clear on is to help that person understand that that is their feelings and their journey, but not their child's.
Right, right.
It's a separate journey, and we want to be clear on that because you are the only parent that is raising that child.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a challenge, and that's so good that we have someone like you, Lori, all our reproductive therapists who are helping people like wrap their heads around these concepts.
It's a lot, but I think what all of us are doing is so important, right? Because we're a team here. And I'm not just saying that, I really do mean that. We have to all work on this together. And like what you do and what Joe does is essential because what we're doing is we're really complementing the whole picture here, right? And so this to the medical intake process, and by adding it to the medical intake form, what we're doing is we're allowing society to see that this is another way of a child being brought into this world. And we're allowing doctors to feel comfortable, hopefully, in having the conversation, or at least being forced to have the conversation.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's going to make a huge difference for the medical community. Absolutely.
And I'm hoping that the accreditation societies pick up on it so that when they go and do the auditing of the hospital's charts and of the medical charts in the offices, they look for it. And they say, wait, you didn't ask this question. You're missing a big part of the person's history.
Yeah. Well, I think the work you're doing, Joe, is really gonna help with that.
Yeah. So, well, thank you.
It is so great to see both of you tonight. I'm glad we had this conversation. I'm sure we'll be talking about it more, right, Lori?
I can't wait.
Yeah.
We'll have some updates to be able to provide to everyone with some big wins and success here, hopefully soon.
Yeah, no, you guys are moving at lightning speed. I'm amazed by you guys. I just think this is incredible because when Lori told me, "Oh, we have an update," I'm like, seriously? That was so fast. Joe, I have some other projects I need you to work on.
I have a few.
This is incredible.
Serena, so there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot,
yeah, a lot going on, a lot. But I'm so thrilled that Joe was able to make these introductions and we're able to have these conversations. So that's great. And phase 2 is coming soon, right, Joe?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
Yeah. So thank you both so much. Thank you for everybody who listened, and I'm going to do my best to save this and post it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
You too. Be well. Bye-bye.